So one of the things I felt when I learned back in China, is that the way we learned was a little bit dry, in the sense that the herbs we would associate only herbs with a series of functions, and I think it's good, but it doesn't allow you to really understand the herb as a whole. So it will be like talking about a person, and the only thing you can say about them is, are they, for example, their job and how their family, right? Do they have children? Or are they married? And that's it. And that's it. That's the only things you can say about a person, which kind of gives you an idea. But I mean, someone who is, I would say, a dentist married with 2 kids, and another one who had exactly the same thing, might actually be a completely different person, right? So I felt you kind of missing all these little things that really give you the idea of what this herb really is. And all the things we talk about it today is things such as, is it a herb that is descending or ascending? Is it a herb that is relatively dry or more wet? What's the color of this herb? What type of herb is it? Is it a root or is it a flower? Or, all the things that really makes you understand what this herb is. Then we have the flowers, which are a bit similar to leaves in that sense, because it's also kind of at the end, at the extremities of the herbs and the plants. So they tend to liberate the surface. They work more on the upper jaw as well. An example, so on the left we have 金银花, middle 菊花, and on the right side is 玫瑰花. So you're familiar with the 3?
Yep.
Yeah. Lauren, have you seen these ones?
I've seen I call it the roses in the clinic, but yeah, the name isn't familiar. The other 2 are. Yeah,
it is rose. The 玫瑰花 is rose. It's rosebud. It's not the same type as the one we tend to buy to send as a gift. But that's also one category of
I've actually got it in a tea to try today, so
yeah,
there you go.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. What's good with flowers is you can use them in infusion very easily. So that's why many people are familiar with them in China, because they use them in infusion, right? They just put them in hot water and they drink it. So yeah, it's kind of same thing. They tend to be light and more exterior. Pungent bitter worm, that's the one that you see that it's not only about moving now, it's also about moving and draining at the same time. But what do they drain? They don't drain yang qi right here because they're warm. So they're not going to be clearing heat and stuff like that. So what do they drain? What they drain is really the things that are stuck. So flame, dampness, all these sort of things, right? They make all these yin stuff start to move, and start to be transformed. So pungent bitter worm, it's, for example, a Chenpi, 藿香, 厚朴, that's the kind of herbs we're talking about. Banxia is also a good example. These are herbs that you use to move qi, transform phlegm, transform dampness. Yeah, that makes sense? What kind of problem do you see could rise from that? Because they're very draining and they tend to be aggressive against yin stuff, and they move a lot, they disperse a lot. So what could be the problem that stems out of that?
Too much can cause like yin deficiency up to so only for short-term use.
Absolutely. So one of the side effects of them, they can't be aggressive to body fluids, right? They can dry up body fluids, and yeah, to a certain extent, they might also be consuming qi, but really our main concern is about the body fluids, because they will dry up body fluids. They will, they will attack them. All right, so that's another thing I started to talk about, flavor and fragrance. And just to show you that I'm not making up stuff, that this is part of, the core theory of Chinese medicine. This is a Su Wen, so quite authoritative on the topic. So herbs, they were saying that the herbs have strong flavor, they tend to drain. Those with a light flavor, they unblock. herbs with a light fragrance, they expel, and those with a strong fragrance, they produce heat. So when we think about the first type, we're really talking about these root herbs that are very bitter and that bring things down, laxative, during urine promotion, etc. And I would say heat clearing as well. Those with a light flavor, so they will do the same thing, but a bit lighter, right? They're not going to be it may be more, yes, it has zhizi type of thing. The difference between honglian and zhizi, right? One has strong flavor, strong descending. Zhizi has much lighter flavor. It will bring down, but not that much, not that strongly. Yes, it helps with a strong flavor, such as dahuang, which is purging. I'm quite really familiar with dahuang. Yeah, it's really, it's all right. So they tend to be very yin, right? Because they have a strong flavor. So that's why very descending, very clearing, very inhibiting, etc. Some of them are very tonic, very strong tonics, have a strong flavor because they bring in lots of flavor, they bring in lots of stuff, such as shudi, dazao, etc. And yeah, and I have cushion here. The one we talked about, the bitter roots, the bitter ginseng, it's the one on the lower right corner. Yeah. So you can see that, there's from the way they look, you can even see there is a strong difference in characteristic between the one that are nurturing, that's really blood essence nurturing, shudi huang and dazao, and the difference between dahuang and kushen, which are really draining. What can you see from the texture? It's one characteristic we just talked about. What the difference?
Well, the dahuang and the cushion look a bit more drier sort of thing.
Yes.
Like it's got that crumbling one, whereas the dazao and the shudi kind of has that pruny, wrinkly, but more, I don't know, it just has that intense kind of color. It looks more rich in color, rich in substance.
Yes.
But
so correct. Yes, it's really good. I'm really glad that you were able to, to think in this way. So yeah, shudi huang and dazao are more wet. They're more wet, right? They're more nurturing, they're more yin nurturing. Dahuang and kushen are more drying. So that bitter cold drying herbs. Heavy descending herbs such as longu moli, because they inhibit qi ascension, they can lead to qi deficiency, really, fatigue, fogginess, lethargy, right? So in this case, we can use qi lifting herbs to prevent that to happen. There is a formula which is called Zhengan Xifengtang, which is using exactly this principle, using tons of heavy herbs to inhibit the liver yang, but at the same time I'm using some qi lifting herbs to make sure I'm not inhibiting the qi ascension, the qi lifting at the same time. Heavy herbs, they tend to inhibit the spleen and stomach. So the same herbs, longu, moli, etc. And therefore, we tend to use spleen and stomach protecting herbs such as mu xiang, jin, baizhu to prevent this to happen. Thank you for watching this clip of our masterclass. We are running this in-depth and practical masterclass of herbology and formulas. So if you're interested in joining us or watching the full recording, please check the program in the description of this video or send me an email at johanberling@gmail.com.